You're listening to the audio-only version of Cocktails with Cav, the popular video cast streamed live only on X. Follow us here on Spotify or on X at Cav Literature.
Oh, happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome back to another great episode of Cocktails with Cav. Oh, I am excited. Great author tonight that we'll get to know. You're going to want to stick around. And as always, look, follow us, hit that notification bell so you never miss a show. And and also stick around for tonight's episode of Cocktails with Cav After Hours Live. That's where the producer, Drunk Doug, and I, we have to unwind from all this content creation, have some cocktails, discuss the latest news and hot topics. We have a great time. You can even call into that show and be a part of the show if you want. So stick around. Definitely, like I said, hit that follow and notification. Oh, well, I'm through goofing off. I tell you what, I had to take a couple of weeks off. Go on a trip across America in a cramped rental car, see some stuff, and take some pictures. But I had a great time. Had to just let loose a little bit. But I'm back. We're ready. Full force, more great episodes of Cocktails with Cav. I can't even say my show name. It's all these cocktails. Great Cocktails with Cav episodes as well as After Hours Live. We're ready to come back full force. Well, a little bit of housekeeping, please. Look, check the links in the description of the show. Please consider supporting us just so we can keep bringing you these great indie creators as well as our other Cocktails with Cav show offerings. Cheap cup of coffee is all it takes. We're not even talking expensive mocha chocolate lattes or whatever it is you get your name written on a cup with. We're talking like gas station coffee. Cheap cup of coffee on our Buy Me a Coffee links, all it takes. Please consider supporting us. And also check our merch page. A lot of great swag. Great way to support the show. So check it out. The links are right there in the description. Well, enough of all of that. I am excited tonight. Grab you a cocktail. Get ready to delve into some darkness with an incredible dark fiction author. He's coming to us from Portugal tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome to the stage, Kev Harrison. Oh, Kev, my friend, so glad to finally have you on the show. How are you doing, man?
George, I'm doing great. Thanks, man. And thanks so much for having us on the show.
Oh, no, man. I'll tell you what, I was excited, man. I love the genre, the dark fiction. A lot of great work you have out there, you know, and you come highly recommended for some other great authors. So
that is very nice, and I'll make sure I pay them in due course.
That's right. That's right. Don't forget my $5, buddy. That's
exactly.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, we're nice and refreshed. We're down here in New Orleans with our 90-degree wet wool blanket humidity.
I bet that is brutal.
Oh, it's nice, man. I like my summer just because I'm a sailboat guy, but you know.
Sure. Yeah, I've seen you talking about sailing before. Yeah, that looks fantastic.
Oh, it's so much fun just to relax. But that's why I got to stay light with some gin, you know.
Yeah. I'm also on the gin here in Portugal, and it is also pretty warm here, but not so humid, so that's good.
Oh, well, that is, and see, you have me day drinking, buddy, because when I do my European friends, you're on night shift and I'm over here in the day drinking. So
I just creeped over to 6 p.m. So I think this is actually technically okay. I think this is not a problem.
I'm on brunch. It's all right. It's
everything's legal on brunch. It's fine.
Oh yeah, as long as you're respectable and call it brunch. I don't know, but man, I tell you what, Kev. Man, we love to let the audience get to know creators. I just think it's so important to, build that relationship. And man, we'd love to hear about you. Tell us a little about yourself, bud.
Yeah, sure. So I'm from England originally, UK, and I lived there until I was about 30 years old, and I'm now living in Portugal. I've been writing since about 2017, and basically I just one day I decided that the career I was doing wasn't for me anymore. I was a data analyst in a lot of office jobs and some big companies and stuff. I just decided to do something different, so I trained to be an English teacher. and left the UK in 2011. And it's one of those things where I didn't really appreciate kind of the significance of the change until the day before I moved to Turkey in 2011. I just went to bed the night before, having packed up all of my stuff, and just was like, bloody hell, I'm leaving the country tomorrow. Yeah, so it's a bit mad. And then I've been traveling around all over since then. So lived in Poland for a while, lived in Portugal for the last nearly 10 years. And yeah, the writing came in 2017. I've just been kind of building it up since then. And yeah, I'm still enjoying it, still in the trenches.
Yeah, I tell you, having done a fair amount of living abroad myself, Central America and Europe, it definitely, I assume it informs your writing a lot, huh? Some great location descriptions, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's funny, actually. The book that I've just released now is the beginning of the book is set, and in fact the end of the book as well is set in Turkey, which was the first place that I moved to. But sort of as I came around to that, my first novella, for example, was based on the folklore of Poland, where I lived for 3 years. And that was based around, I don't know if you've heard of the myth of the folkloric character Baba Yaga. She's from sort of Russian and Slavic and all kinds of sort of Eastern European folkloric backgrounds, like a sort of creepy old witch figure.
Well, how did you arrive at wanting to be in the genre of dark fiction? It's such a great genre. I love it. I'm always fascinated by character, psychological insights and things of that nature. What drove you into the genre? Is it just something you were always interested in too, or?
I mean, I think when I was a kid, actually, my dad and my uncle lived with my family for a while when I was sort of very young. And between the two of them, they just, got through everything that Stephen King wrote, everything that James Herbert wrote. And so I was a pretty voracious reader when I was sort of in my younger years, sort of 6, 7, 8 years old. And then when I was about 8, I remember going to their bookshelf and picking up a book by James Herbert called The Rats. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
No, I don't.
It's kind of an apocalyptic story. It's the first book in a trilogy. And basically it starts in London, nukes fall, very few people are surviving, and there's sort of a bunch of rats basically sort of taking over everything. And throughout the trilogy, it kind of gets more and more the case that these rats are basically just taking over the world because of their immunity to radiation and stuff like this. And it is absolutely brutal. It is also quite highly sexual, which, like my 8-year-old self, that just went right over my head. I was just like, why are they doing this? What is this all about? But the bloody, gory violence and the horror of the rats and the claustrophobia of being stuck under collapsed buildings, that was just my jam, and I kind of went on from there.
Oh, well, that's nice. That's great that you had that sort of early influence of a lot of reading and when you were young, because I mean, when I was
irresponsible parents.
Yeah. When I was young, my grandmother, we had cocktails then too, but all she had was her grocery store set of encyclopedias that only went up to D. So I was an expert in everything from from aardvarks to anything past G. I think it went up to gyroscope. That was it. That was
okay.
I can tell you everything you need to know.
Swathe of knowledge that you've got there. So that's very good.
Yes. If only she would have had more green stamps, and I know. Oh, but it is. No, it's great to have that early influence. I know I found. You said you're still teaching now?
Yeah, still teaching English now. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What level do you teach at? Because I know I had some great influences. That's where my influence ended up coming from. Was just some lucky to have some great educators in my life.
I mean, I think those kinds of people, the inspiration you can get from an educator can be really, really big, can't it? I actually teach English language rather than literature. So I work with university students over here in Portugal. I do some teaching for business and that kind of thing. But then in the UK every summer, I go back over there and I teach a bunch of people from Saudi Arabia, China, Thailand, places like that to prepare them for university degrees. So it's really fun. And the thing I love about it is you just end up meeting such amazing, driven, interesting people from different backgrounds and stuff, which is really, really cool. They're all so unique, It's really, really good fun.
Oh yeah, and I imagine that, you know, that variety you're getting in touch with through your work is helps inform some character development too, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's so much character work that comes from little experiences or little touch points you have with people, and also, you know, I mean, whenever I meet someone from a foreign country, once I know them well enough, I will start to ask them what their folkloric monsters are. Like, what lives in the water in your river? Like, what lives in the forest outside your village? You know, this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's you're right. Every culture has their version of the Loch Ness monster, you know, or
absolutely, yeah, or the Bigfoot or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's it. Oh man, what do you mean? Bigfoot's not a myth. What are you talking about?
What do you have there in New Orleans? Do you have any monsters in New Orleans?
Yeah, we have the Honey Island swamp monster. That's a big one for us. It's a wildlife area just in between New Orleans and the Mississippi state line, maybe 20 miles outside the city, or 10, 15 miles, but it's a swampy area. And yeah, that was always the big one, the Honey Island swamp monster.
I'm gonna have to look that up, most definitely.
Yeah, we even have a display of it at the zoo, and you know,
wow.
It's a big one.
Love it. Brilliant.
Well, that is, and you're right. To be able to pull in all that variety from different cultures and different locales in your writing, just, you know, you readers out there need to be fascinated with Kev's work, because I tell you, really, it is. I'm a fan, and the locations are just phenomenal. You know, if you haven't had a chance to travel to some of these areas, they're just great job, Kev. That's all I can say.
Thanks, man. Thanks. And I think setting is so important in like grounding the reader, especially because, like, you know, writing dark fiction and horror, especially when it's supernatural kind of stuff. I think you've got to try and get people to buy into like 90% of the story as something they believe in, because, you know, you've got the 10% with like the monster or whatever it is that they're not going to believe in. And so I think if you can use your experience of a location to make that location really gripping and really grounded and really real, and I do that through, you know, like obviously description, but also things like food, like cultural nuances and stuff like this, then people are going to maybe, hopefully, go the extra yard and believe you when you start telling them about, for example, in the new book that I've written, Shadow of the Hidden, about the jinn curse that afflicts one of the main characters.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, and I tell you, when you got into writing, do you find that you know, because obviously with the show, we you know, just interviewing a lot of indie creators, it's a tough road to hoe, obviously, you know, and because you have to be all things to all people as you're trying to get your work in front of people. How I like to get insight from some of the indie creators. How did you go about your publishing, you know, your desire to publish, and what route you finally took, whether it be legacy or, you know, self-publishing?
Yeah, sure. I mean, actually, my first novella, The Balance, I sent it to a publisher called Lichen Valley Press, who are based in the USA. They're based in Washington State. And I was really lucky that they decided to take it on, because, you know, it was one of the first places that I approached with the book. So that was a really good experience. After that, I thought, okay, well, you know, I've got one book out, and this is part of the problem. The kind of everlasting grind is that as soon as you got that book out, you know, day one, you need to make sure that the next book is getting ready to come, right? And so the next book after that was a kind of subterranean horror novella called Below. And that was basically based in a mine, and I actually used some of my experience from Poland. It's set in the US, but I used some of my experience from Poland when I taught a guy who was a mining engineer, and he actually took me to a very, very deep coal mine one day.
Oh, and,
it was bloody terrifying.
Well, you're going to have to tell us all about, I'll tell you what, I love the genre so much, but I got to refill my cocktail. It's hot over here, buddy.
Go for it.
When we come back, look, everybody stick around. When we come back, Kev, tell us all about Below when we get into it, and then we'll talk about all of your other fantastic, great work when we come back, bud.
Let's do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, just a quick mid-roll break, real fast. Remind you, go check us out on Rumble, rumble.com/afterhourslive. It's our new great show, After Hours Live, with the producer Drunk Doug and I. unwind from all this content creation, have some cocktails, a great time, and some fun talking about the latest news and hot topics. You're not going to want to miss the show. It's just great. So please check us out on Rumble. Go follow us, hit the notifications so you never miss a show. Rumble.com/afterhourslive. And hey, stick around after this episode of Cocktails with Cav, because we'll be coming to you tonight. Man, that is a that was a great trailer.
Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. I mean, it was a Polish guy actually. Obviously, the story was written in Poland, and a Polish guy just reached out to me and said he'd read the book, really liked it, and that he did trailers. And I was like, okay. And he sent me a couple of samples, and they were brilliant. And so I just said, yeah, okay, what can you do? And so maybe.
Wow, I tell you what, yeah, because when you talk about it creeped me out, man. It's
yeah.
You got to tell us
Mission
about the
accomplished.
story. Yeah, you got to tell us about the story, man. On the balance, it's you know.
So, well, basically, I mean, like it's got, like I said, it's kind of a reworking of the Baba Yaga myth, which comes from Slavic folklore, and it starts off with this girl Natalia has been with her, looking after her brother. This is in the Cold War, so like in the 50s, when Poland was still a client state of the Soviet Union, and when she's not looking, she's picking flowers. Her brother falls, breaks his leg, and it's a really bad break. He falls really heavily on it. It's midwinter. He's got bones sticking out of the leg, and when they get home, the doctor comes. They've got no medicine because of the supplies being short in that Soviet period. Obviously, things like antibiotics and stuff. And so, basically, this is not really much of a spoiler. Very quickly, they find out that he's probably going to have his leg amputated. So the sister, feeling terrible, then takes him to see the sort of local witch figure, the Baba Yaga, in the forest, and things just spiral out of control from there. And there's kind of religious elements. There's some eco horror in there as well, because there's kind of the Baba Yaga figure was seen often in Slavic folklore as this kind of balance, hence the name, between like people and nature. So when that gets upended, then basically there becomes this sort of struggle and this conflict between the nature of the area, which is this very rural, very harsh kind of landscape, with the people in the village. So yeah, that's
wow.
That's how it works. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. That's definitely worth checking out. And then I know you began talking right before the break. We started talking about Below, and and definitely tell us a little bit about this work, but. Yeah, you also have an interesting story with the publisher on that too, don't you?
Absolutely. Yeah, interesting is the word. My God. I mean, yeah, basically the story is kind of someone going to make a documentary after a mine collapse, decades earlier, in which his grandfather died, and he's kind of been asked, because he's a mining engineer, like sort of following in his granddad's footsteps, kind of thing, to make this documentary with an influencer lady. And so they go there, and when they get to the mine, they find out that even though it's been sealed for sort of multiple decades, something is alive in the bottom. And there's bits of epistolary in there. There's all kinds of things. So I was playing with a lot of ideas. If you like the film The Descent or As Above, So Below, then this could be for you. But yeah, the publisher story was a bit bizarre, because I sent it to a few publishers, and eventually it was picked up by a publishing house called Silver Shamrock Publishing, who are publishing a lot of interesting horror around that time. But then a big scandal exploded about 5 months after it was published, and suddenly it was adrift. No one with the rights anymore. and it was very stressful. And then very luckily, my current publisher, who did my recent novel, Bridges Gate Press, just sort of messaged me and said, you know, we wouldn't be able to give you an advance or whatever, but we'd like to republish this book. And I was like, one, thank you so much, and two, please keep the cover art, because the cover art is like extraordinary.
Right. And yeah, come on, you got to tell us what was the scandal, buddy, for people not for me. We love scandals. Tell me it involved women and booze. No. Oh no, that's sadly, my scandal. No.
Sadly, it was nothing so sort of ordinary. It was like basically they were putting out a book that was, I mean, it was pretty sketchy subject matter. It was kind of like, I don't know if you know the Great Replacement theory, you know, like
right.
Like, yeah, it was kind of based around that, and everyone kind of went, "This is a joke," because he actually the managing editor put it out on April Fool's Day, and everyone was like, "Yeah, a bit close to the bone, but it must be a joke." But no, it wasn't a joke. Like, this was the book, so yeah. Oh gosh, they got buried very quickly.
I guess so, but golly, well, at least you got picked up again for republishing, and that's awesome. And you said it's the same publisher that's done your latest release, huh?
Exactly, yeah. So after I had a really good experience with them with Below, I kind of approached them with Shadow of the Hidden a couple of years ago now, but they'd already signed up a lot of books. They'd signed up a full catalogue for 2023, and so they said, like, look, we love the story, but it's going to have to wait till spring 24, and this is sort of 2022 November. So, you know, if anyone's watching and thinking about getting into publishing fiction or is kind of in the early steps of this, it's good to know, like, sometimes it really can take this long. You can be waiting like 18 months with a book written and thinking, I just want to get out there to the world, but like, you know, you just got to sit and wait. But time flies, you know, once you start, once you've been there for a while, you know, time starts to pass by, and then suddenly, you know, it's 3 months away and you're doing the prep for the launch.
Yeah, and you know, as it's billed, a novel of adventure horror, why don't you tell us a little bit? Give us a little scoop on Cocktails with Cav, buddy.
Yeah, sure, man, sure. So, well, basically, I mean, when I was working in Turkey, I had a really good friend who ran a bar, and this was way back in 2011. And we were going to go out together the last night before I left. So this is actually where the book starts off, with someone who's a British guy. He's actually in a different job. He's actually like an archaeological translator, but he's like working there with a friend. And while they're at this bar chilling, you know, just having a beer, an old lady comes over, and she is wearing like widow clothes, you know, which is like black with like a black veil and stuff like this. And she asks for some ice cream, because he sells this ice cream at this bar, which is like his main kind of product. And the guy tells her to go away. And then she basically puts a curse on him, like a djinn curse, you know, like the genies.
Right.
Think like Disney's Aladdin, but not happy and friendly, like proper evil. And he gets really terrified. In real life, my friend had a couple of weird things happen, which happened in the book, but nothing serious. In the book, I kind of take up the idea of like, what if this curse had been real? What if it had gone really, really badly? And so his family ends up being cursed by this djinn. And the book then goes on with the main character, this Turkish friend of his, and a scriptural expert they meet in Istanbul, traveling around places in North Africa trying to find ways to break this curse before him and his family end up killed, basically.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and that's just... it's going to be a great story, that's for sure. Everybody... Well, I tell you what, man, Kev, I am so glad you were able to take time out of your busy schedule you have going on over there, and you know, to come on the show, man. I love your work, and definitely, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't gotten to know Kev on X, his screen name's right there for you. Just you know,
it's in Portuguese. It's a bit difficult, so it's this wet English. But yeah, George, man, thank you so much for making the time to have me on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no, and I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, please, everybody, check out Kev's work. Great body of work, available at all of your fine retail outlets where you get your fine reading materials from, that's for sure. And
do reach out to me on X or wherever, because I'm very personable and chatty, and, you know, when I'm looking for a reason to escape the manuscript for 5 minutes, then I'll be very happy to chat with you.
Oh, absolutely. Well, no, Kev, really, ladies and gentlemen, give Kev a follow, get to know him, get to know his work, and by all means, look, the links to Kev's website will be, of course, in the description of the show. But definitely need everybody give him a follow, check it out. Another great indie creator on the Cocktails with Cav show, Kev. I appreciate you, buddy. And
Much appreciated.
Glad we
Cheers.
were both on gin, bud. Cheers.
Exactly. We're coordinated.